Okay. Hello and welcome. Welcome to this special Meet the Miniaturist. Please say hello in the chat box. Hi, guys. Welcome. Happy Sunday, or whenever you're watching, listening. Hi, Evelyn. Good to see you. Say hello, guys, in the chat box just to make sure I know it's working. Welcome to this Meet the Miniaturist live stream, special edition. We're going to be talking about the Philly Show, which is coming up. I hope everybody's having a great day so far. We're going to start in about a minute. Wait for folks to join and catch up. We're probably a minute before we begin. So please say hello and maybe get a chance if just tell me a little bit about why you might be here. Have you been to the Philly Show? You're planning to go to the Philly Show? Have you ever been to a mini show? Love to hear from you guys. Love to hear from you in terms of where you're at in this mini game, especially with the mini shows that are happening. Hi, Pat. Great to see you. And Tina. Who else as I flip through? Anel. Yay. Hi, Anel. Who else is there? Yeah, please use the chat box. I'd love to know where you're at. Have you ever been to a show? Have you ever been to the Philly Show? Oh, wait, here. Messages are coming through. Good. It is working. Thank you, Nancy. Marina's saying hello to everybody. We do love the Philly Show. Philadelphia Miniaturia. All right. Let's wait just a few more seconds before we begin. Say hello in the chat box. Oh, good, Beverly. So you will be sufficiently inspired once we finish up this live stream about the Philly Show for sure. And I think you will be inspired to go. It is one of the best shows, I think, out of all of them. It's one of the top 4 or 5 shows in the nation, I think, in the United States. And I'm excited to be talking about it today. So why don't we go ahead and begin, because it is a little after 4. Thank you for spending this Sunday with me on this special Meet the Miniaturist. Keep populating the chat box, because I love to read these, and I also share these with the panelists so they can get to read them afterwards as well. And just so you guys note, the very first comment are a whole bunch of links related to this session, this webinar. So you can go ahead and live click those if there's anything you see now to save it. But if you're missing anything, please just let me know. We'll pop it in again. But if you have never been to one of my Meet the Miniaturists and you don't know me, I'm Darren, and I have a business called D. Thomas Miniatures. I had a retail shop and a gallery, and now I exclusively sell miniatures online, mostly estate sales and online auctions. And in fact, I just finished up one, and I have this lovely piece. I want to find a beautiful home for it. It's called the Frame Shop. It's a beautiful piece, and so this is the last remaining piece from my last auction that I just did. So I'm trying to find a happy home for this. If anybody's looking for a beautifully set room box, the composition on this is really incredible. Not only is it a well-made room box, the composition is just perfect. So anyway, that's a little bit about me. But I not only do I sell miniatures, I promote them every chance I get. I love to tell the stories about the artists, the collectors, and all the people in this mini world that are making it move and shake. And I do that through these Meet the Miniaturists webinars or live streams. So you can catch them. You can catch previous replays of them. There's a link in the comments section if you want to catch some of the replays on that. And just so you know, moving forward, I do have another estate sale coming up. It is a mixture of old school miniatures, teddy bears, stuffed animals in small scale, as well as, if you're a bargain hunter, I'll be having like my first garage sale auction. So look for that over the coming weeks. If you're signed up on my email list, you'll know about it. If you're not, you will be signed up as a result of attending this lovely live stream. But with that, I just want to get right to it and talk about miniatures. So again, thank you. I'm going to bring up Cathy. She is coming up now because she is the owner. Oh, no, that's Glen. Sorry. Hold on. Cathy, where are you? There you are. There you are. Yay. Okay, perfect. Cathy. So Cathy is the owner of the Philly Show, Philadelphia Miniaturia, and I'm so glad you're here today. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You have a story to tell behind how you got into the miniature world and the show world. I do want you to touch upon that and tell us a little bit about that story, how long you've been involved in the mini world, how you got to where you are owning this show, and then we're going to dive into the show itself and have people hear all about what's happening. And then, of course, we're going to meet some of the artists who are showcasing there. So yeah, so introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about it.
So my name's Cathy. I started in the miniature world in 1990. Pat Bowder, who was a previous show owner, had asked me if I wanted to make a few dollars over a weekend, and she told me to throw some dress outfits and into a bag, and she would take care of everything else. So I wanted money as a teenager. I did whatever it took to get some money. So I did it, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And it blew me away. I can still remember, it was 33 years ago, and I can still remember most of it. There were so many people, and people were so kind and so caring and willing to share all this knowledge that they had. And
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
taught you how to do everything.
Yeah.
And it was insane. It was crazy.
I kind of look at that era as the golden era a little bit of the miniatures world. I mean, I think we're entering a whole new world, which we haven't named yet. But for sure, when you started, I almost get the sense that that was a big, big time for the little world. Would you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. There were just so many people. I think at that time they used to limit the preview sales to 500, and we would still have up to 75 people waiting to see if there were any cancellations so they could come in on Friday night as well.
Yeah, and I kind of get that feeling that that rumbling is happening again. If I think I'm right about that. I'm feeling it, and I also get the sense that we're back to the era where the tables have 2 and 3 lines of people who are waiting to sort of see the miniatures. So I feel like we're getting into a new era. I don't really know what to call it yet, but we're definitely back for sure. And I think one of your shows is definitely one of the reasons what is helping to bring it back. So let's talk about the Philly show and talk about. So how long have you been running the Philly show?
So I took over the show in December of 2019, because I have amazing timing, and
Right.
and so we didn't have a 2020 show because of COVID, and then my first show was 21. So this will be my third year as the show promoter.
Just your 3rd year. So
Mhm.
and yet in a very short amount of time, I think you put yourself on the map as far as being one of the best shows or one of the better
Oh,
shows in the country for sure.
thank
And
you.
and I think one of the things one of the ways you do that is it is an international show.
Mhm.
So you're able to draw in from artists from all around the world. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh. And they are amazing. I appreciate them coming and supporting the show and selling at the show. So this year we have people from Spain, actually all over Europe. We have Belinda from South Africa, and
Oh.
then we have a new dealer. Their name is Anything Handcrafted, and they're coming from Taiwan.
Very nice. That's big. Wow,
Yeah.
that's a long way.
Yes.
Good.
Oh, and then we also have Kim's Minis from Australia.
Interesting. Fabulous. That's great. I think that's one of the things that make a great show is that folks are coming from other faraway places, bringing their perspective, bringing their talents, bringing their viewpoints for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So in addition to the artists showing at the show, you also have workshops that happen before the show. Talk a little bit about that.
So workshops start on Tuesday, I think Tuesday. So we have for 22 workshops this year, and they range from anything. You can dress a doll with Joanne Roberts. You can learn about Cricut and Glowforge if you want to learn how to work with SVG files,
Ooh,
which
that's
is
fascinating.
something that's new and upcoming, and a lot
Yeah.
of the younger generation is into definitely the computer work behind miniatures.
Yeah.
Um, we have, oh
Mhm.
gosh, there's just a lot. You'll
And
have to go on our website.
yeah. So is it for all levels and skill sets?
Yes, yes, it is
Yeah.
for, and the classes are not very large,
Okay.
so we like to keep them small so that the instructor can work with each student if they need individual help or if anybody has questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's just go through the dates again. And also, when do the workshops start? When does the weekend start? And talk about that preview again, because I got my ticket for the preview, so I'm ready. Talk about what that means. I want to repeat it so people get it.
Okay. So the preview is Friday, 6 to 9, or I guess start with the dates. The dates are November 3rd, 4th, and 5th, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. November 3rd is preview night from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And in order to be admitted on preview night, you do have to purchase a preview ticket.
Yeah.
But that preview ticket is your admission for the whole weekend. So as long as you hold on to your name badge, you can come and go all weekend.
Yeah. And what is the benefit of a preview ticket?
So Friday night, we have a cash bar. We have butler hors d'oeuvres throughout the showroom. We have little snacks and things before you go in the showroom. And also we like to call it first dibs.
See, that's the key. Talk about what does first dibs mean. And this is for the budding collector, the collectors of today. It gets very competitive, you guys, especially if you're looking for a specific thing from a specific artist. So what does first dibs mean?
So there's only 500 people that are permitted in on Friday night. Once the preview tickets sell out, that is our limit. And you do not have to fight the massive crowds on Saturdays and Sundays in order to purchase those things. It's very popular for a lot of the dealers who make one of a kind. The international dealers who can only bring so much inventory with them. And if you're just looking for that special piece, you're going to be able to grab it on Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to for a lot of these artists, these are one of a kind pieces. Very often, they're the first time that they're even being shown in this setting. So if you are following a specific artist and you love their work, sometimes you need to kind of run over to those tables and look at it and then evaluate it, figure it out if you want it. I mean, there's just so much happening in that moment, but there's also an amazing frenzy, good feeling about it, about being involved in that if you love the mini world.
Yes, Friday is definitely my favorite. It starts in the morning when the dealers come in to set up, and everyone is very excited to see each other. They're excited about the weekend, all the conversations they're going to have. It's just such a vibe, especially on Friday night, that you just kind of get sucked into it, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's before all of the craziness of the weekend begins. It's when everybody's sort of fresh and excited, and I mean, because then it becomes work for the artists, it becomes work for the people who are running tables, but good in a good way. So I agree, Friday night is the best vibe for sure. The diehards are there Friday night, and then you've got the people who are coming out of their workshops. They're just excited about the project that they've just finished, and they're getting ready to buy, or they're getting ready to shop the show. So yeah, Friday night is key. I'm usually there Friday and Saturday. That's just how I work it. Because I mean, I would stay there 3 days if I could, but I just can't.
When you have, when you're kind of maxed out for Friday night, you need a break. Saturday morning preview people also get in an hour early before the general public on Saturday. So when you are done for Friday and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot to grab this thing. You can run down Saturday morning before the general public comes in and make your purchase and go home happy.
Yeah, awesome. You also have something I thought was really interesting, which is the People's Choice Award. Talk a little bit about that.
So the People's Choice Award, we really don't have any rules for it. It's just if you've worked on a project and you want to show it off, you submit your information to Ron through our website. And you can bring it in on Friday and display it throughout the weekend. When you display your piece, you get free admission for either Saturday or Sunday.
So this is open to anybody.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, how did you say the voting works?
I'm sorry. So everyone will get a ballot when they come into the show, and then you go ahead and pick your favorite one and write why you think it's your favorite one or whatever it is that draws you to that piece. And then we award first, second, and third place awards at the end of the show.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, that just all makes up such a great show. Am I missing anything? We've got workshops, we've got selling, we've got international artists, we have a People's Choice Awards, we have hors d'oeuvres on Friday night. I think we covered everything.
Well, Thursday night we have name night, which is completely free to anyone who's in town. That's kind of our warm up start to the whole weekend. And we just have round tables. There's an auction. Everything benefits name. There's a little bit of snacks.
Okay.
And then there's also a silent auction that goes on Saturday during the day.
Awesome. Okay. And that's name is National Association for Miniature Enthusiasts. They're one of two large organizations dedicated to miniatures. Awesome. 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 Well, thank you so much. And I hope you're going to stay with us because we're going to bring you back up and maybe if we have any questions later on. But thank you. All right. So yeah, I should have taken some questions actually before. Guys, if you have any questions for Cathy, just hold on to them for right now. As I bring up our first artist of the day, which is Marina Vitulli. Hold on, Marina, we're bringing you up, asking you to start your video. Now, Marina is, hold on. There you are, yay. Yay, hold on, I'm gonna close this. Yeah. All right, Marina, how are you? You're like in my backyard, which I realize you're up in my county here in New York. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. You also run a very oh, we need to get you to unmute. Now, there you go. There you are. You are literally in my backyard. You also run a very popular Instagram account under Marina's Mini Life. And that's kind of how I originally found you. But then we met at one of the shows. I think your work is just awesome. You bring a whole fresh aesthetic to this mini world, which I want you to talk about. And also, of course, talk about some of the things you're going to be bringing to the show and what we're going to see there. So introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and talk a little bit about your aesthetic in the miniatures world.
Sure. So my name is Marina, and hi, everybody. So I grew up with my dad made my first dollhouse. I had to be like 7 years old. And a lot of my miniatures that I still have were, I call them like old school or traditional. And I love them. They're just, heartfelt treasures to me. But once I got involved with like modern miniatures and more modern farmhouse. I mean, that's pretty much my vibe, is like modern farmhouse, or it depends. I have a lot of houses, so each one of them has a little bit different, just slightly different.
Yeah. So what inspired you to go in that sort of direction, that modern feel, that fresh feel, I would call it?
Yeah, so during 2019, I think it was, I renovated a large dollhouse, and I wanted to make it more relevant to today, not so much a traditional. Yes, that's the one.
Yes.
And so I wanted to make the inside and a lot of the furniture I made myself. Just believe it or not, I just like used an X-Acto knife on a lot of the furniture, but I wanted to make it more relevant to today, like what a house would look like maybe today, and not so traditional. And that kind of just led me down the rabbit hole of making a more aesthetically modern feel to the dollhouses.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about the tools that you use, because you also use modern technology to make some of your miniatures.
Yes. So I do use a 3D printer when making I would say I use the 3D printer I use it to do a lot of different things. So in this particular dollhouse, I made the cabinet, the cabinet front, the paned cabinet fronts. I made those with my 3D printer, and I do make a lot of accessories with my 3D printer, and So all those little pumpkins are 3D printed. You know, I sand them and I hand paint everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I love my 3D printer. I have a filament printer. I don't have a resin printer because of the chemicals. I have an autoimmune issue. So I stick with the filament, and I love it.
Yeah. So where did you learn all these skills? Did you just do it yourself?
I self-taught myself, watching a lot of YouTube videos. My 3D printer is by Prusa. And so he actually has a lot of information and a lot of YouTube videos, and coming with the 3D printer, a lot of education tools.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Would you mind just plopping that name in the chat box? Not now. I would love to have that information just even for myself. So you're self-taught. And, you know, one of the things I noticed when we first met was, you know, there's this whole question about 3D technology and how that's going to work with miniatures. And I think what you've really been able to capture is not only the scaling and the proportions, but the weathering and the look of the actual finished piece. You would not know that. I mean, one of the pieces I have in my mind is your bamboo round chair.
Yeah.
And it looks like real bamboo, which is kind of awesome. So I guess it's in the finishing. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Yeah. So I think, like, I've always been an artist, and growing my profession is I was a hair colorist for 24 years.
I don't think I knew.
Yes. So you know, just I love art, and I feel like the finish and the painting, the hand painting and the glazing of all of it really brings realism to. I mean, if you can make a piece of plastic look like a real little pumpkin, you know, it has to have a great finish. So it's very time consuming in the finishing.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Now it's all making sense. I did not know you were in the beauty world. That's amazing. And if anybody knows anything about hair coloring, it is a science and as well as an art. There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
So, all right. So in addition to those lovely pumpkins that we saw, what else can we expect to see?
I also am self-taught with. And I'm not like the best, but I do love making polymer clay food. So
awesome.
A lot of, I like to, I made a charcuterie board. I don't know if you,
bring it. Just show it into, let's see.
Wait, can you see it?
Try to get closer. And then put your hand in front of it so that we can see it. You can even go closer. Oh, we see it. Yes, lovely. So this is a brand new category that you're working in? Food?
No, I mean, I've been working with the polymer clay. I feel like the more you make polymer clay food, the better you get.
Yeah.
I made like a little bowl of olives and.
Yes, it's hard to see the definition, but
They took me like 3 hours to make a bowl of olives.
Yes.
They look so cute.
Oh, the video is on me. I'm sorry. I'm going to be quiet. Show those again if you can, because I was talking. Hold on. I'm going to spotlight you so they could see it. It's still on me. I guess I can't do it. All right, we can say thank you. Well, all right. So what do you love? What are you finding that you love to make?
There's so many things. I love to style, and I love to make furniture, and some of the furniture I just hand cut. I don't have a laser cutter. So I have a little chop saw and a little table saw, but mostly I just use an X-Acto knife, and I love making furniture. I love making bathrooms and kitchens. It's just so
So it's almost like you're backing into the concept of scratch building. You started out using the technology, and now you're like, let me try this old school with an X-Acto,
Yeah.
and that's how you're working. I mean, yeah, I think that's awesome. I mean, you
Yeah.
could
I would
probably,
love a glow forge, but
yeah,
unfortunately, I don't have that. But
yeah,
I mean, I feel like, you know, it works. You do what
yeah,
works, you know?
you got to do what
So,
works.
yeah. And
All
I
right.
enjoy all aspects. I love just, you know, I love collecting. I love making. I love all of it.
Awesome. 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 All right. I know, I'm sorry I messed up on some of these the spotlights back and forth. So some folks have missed what you were able to see. So was there something you really, really want to see, guys, before we let Marina go and bring up our next guest? Usually takes a second before the chat box works, but okay. But if you have a question, put it in the chat box. We're gonna bring Marina back up later. So if you can hang around, can you hang out for a little bit?
Absolutely.
All right, great. All right.
I'll be here.
Thank you. All right. So let us bring up our next guest, which is going to be Andi Vinciquerra. I hope I got that right.
You got it.
Start the video. Are you there?
Yep. Hold on one sec.
All right, hold on. There you are.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Andi, thank you so much for joining today. You know, we go back, you and I.
I know.
And
I always shout you out on everything because it's all you that got me going. So I really can't thank you enough. It's so cool to be here for that reason alone. So
I'm just so excited to see you blossom and to see the work that you're doing and really, really pushing the envelope on what miniatures can be. And I can't wait to hear more of your story and share more of your story. So you're a Queens based, you're here in New York, miniaturist. And can you just start? How did you, and you have a growing Instagram account called Trial Size Dove Bar. Before we talk about it, can you talk about where you got that name from?
Yes. So the name is a reference to Infinite Jest, which is my favorite book. It is a year, it's a subsidized year of time. And I didn't think I was going to do much with the art stuff. So I picked it because it's important to me. And now people are like, what a weird, interesting name, but it is a miniature bar of soap. So I think that it fits.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So talk about your evolution. Did you start out as an artist? Were you studying art, and how did the miniatures come around?
My educational background, actually my master's degree is in writing. So I'm a writer first. As a kid, my dad was a train guy, huge setup, Lionels underneath the Christmas tree every year. And my mom would do the board. So she would do, hot glue lakes and little ice skaters, just magical. My mom had a dollhouse that was Victorian. It actually winds up being the same first kit that I got, just by way of fate and chance. And as a kid, we would go to all the dollhouse shops that were around at the time, but I was never allowed to play with it, which I couldn't understand, right? But now when my nieces come over, I'm like, do not touch the dollhouse. So I do really understand it. So I always love scale, either things that are incredibly large or things that are incredibly small. I think it's a really interesting way to look at the world, which is kind of what got me to go to your show, Causing a Little Trouble, and seeing people do stuff that was different. I'm really all into the detail. I think it's like an incredible world you can build, which is what makes me write, right? Yeah. I write things that people can see what you're feeling when you write them so that they feel less alone when things might not be that good. And I think that miniatures offer people a new world or a new take on the world when the one that they're in, they kind of want to get away from for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely seeing more of that element in miniatures today, bringing in the storytelling along with the miniatures themselves, only making them that much more interesting and that much more accessible.
Yeah.
So I love what you're doing. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so people can see some of the work. If you don't mind just talking a little bit about your aesthetic.
This is my first, this is my first build. This is my Vermont Farmhouse Junior from Real Good Toys. I wanted to do like a weird, I love like the 60s and the 70s. So I wanted to do that. This is my shed, my conspiracy theorist shed. That's probably my favorite thing I've ever built. And that was inspired by COVID, and it was inspired by conspiracy theories and my love for the X-Files. I love true crime stuff. It's a lot of what I write. So I had a blast weathering too. This is the first project I ever weathered. So I loved making it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun.
I love that.
Yeah. That's my weird paint kitchen.
Is this all one house or this is another house?
No, this is different. This is so anything that's like the bright colors, this is like my little farmhouse that I made. This was my first build. I built a dollhouse kit, and then I wanted to buy furniture, but it was so expensive that I started to learn how to build it. The beaded curtains are all handmade. The bathroom set is purchased. And I still now will collect pieces from different artists. And I think it's what kind of gives my dollhouse that flavor. Especially I went to Tiny Dollhouse to get the brass bed, and I bought some stuff from you when I went to your shop. So it's a mixture of purchased and made.
Yeah. You definitely mix it up, which is a great way to do it. Usually buy what you can't make or don't want to make, or don't have the time to. But this is what you really, I'm knowing you for, are these nooks.
Yes. Yeah, so the book nook started, somebody said to me, like, why don't you try to do it in a book nook? And also the hobby is small, but takes up a ton of space. So I couldn't build another house really. And I had sold one book nook on an off chance. I posted it online and somebody bought it. And then I was like, maybe I should make some more of them. And I reached out to Cathy about Philly, and she was like wonderful and guiding me in my first show ever. And Philly was a wild success for me. It was a blast to meet the people who follow me on Instagram and hang out with people for a weekend and be around other artists. And the book really took off. The Etsy shop really started to go over well. And so now I do a lot of the weird worlds that I think about just for somebody to put on their shelf.
Yeah, it's much more accessible. And I think it's also more of a broad reach in terms of people coming into the mini world, because not everybody, most people outside the mini world don't want to do a dollhouse, don't have no interest in. But this is a form of art. It's a form of art.
Thank you.
Full stop. I mean, so
it's also like, people can't buy a whole shed, right? They're not going to buy my tiki bar that I built. I love my tiki bar, but that's a very niche market for like a collector. So these things it's also like a shorter project, right? Depending on how long it takes me to do it. It's like I can create a lot of different worlds in a year, and then they can find a home with somebody who loves it just as much as I do.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think everything that you're doing is just right in so many ways. And you're bringing fresh approach. And the fact that you're younger, the folks in my generation and then older, we're always wondering who are the new folks who are going to come in and make a difference. And you're doing it. You're doing it. You're changing the dynamic. You're edging things up. You're broadening out. You're bringing people outside the dollhouse world into the dollhouse world, because I'm all about bringing them in so they can discover what I see. They might not all stay, but that's okay as long as they come in.
Yeah, but you know what? It's all of that stuff that has made it such a joy of an experience. Like, I have never met, and I mean, like, I've always been into being creative, but even in the writing community, I've never met a community of artists and people who love the art form that are so inclusive. And every single person I've come into contact with, whether from talking to you the first time I met you, or Cathy and all of the guidance that she has given me in it, it's really welcoming, and it's just like a very, very nice feeling. I don't know that there's a lot of that in art sometimes, so it's like a really beautiful community to be part of.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with anything outside this mini world, but I agree with you. It is very inclusive. It is very welcoming, especially some of the Facebook community groups. They're very, very positive, safe spaces, despite what else is going on, Facebook and the world. But I agree. Because I think at the end of the day, we're a very small, no pun intended, group, and we got to take care of each other.
Yes, very much. Yes.
So what are some of the things that you're gonna be showing at the show? What can people expect?
At Philly, I'll be bringing, I just recently, I'm going to pull the stuff on Etsy. I'm going to put my shop into vacation mode, because I do make everything by hand and I work a full-time job. So it's kind of challenging when I sell stuff to be able to make the same thing. I'm also teaching my first workshop this year in Philly. I will be teaching people how to do my forest book nook.
Oh, that's big news. That's big news.
Yeah.
And is there room still in your class?
I'm very excited.
I'm sure you're going to do great.
I'm so excited to do it. So I'll be selling the forest, because I feel like that's the most accessible thing that I make everybody. It's easy for everybody to kind of like them. I'll probably be bringing about 8 to 10 book nooks, and then a line of forgotten furniture, which has been something I've just been really into making lately.
Ooh, talk about that. What does that mean?
So they're like waterlogged, or like they've got like moss and like forgotten letters. They're kind of like pieces for somebody who wants to either have a one-off on their shelf, or maybe they're doing, my big goal is to do like an abandoned beach house. I really want to do it. I have the kit to build the exterior. So I'm kind of making a line of furniture that's on that. And I'm using a lot of stuff that I collect at either garage sales or thrift stores.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm changing what the furniture looks like. So I'll have that stuff. I'll have some of my accessories, little books, little records, my ashtrays, because I have a blast making
Can we
those.
talk about your ashtrays? I own one. I'm so excited to own an ashtray. It's just,
that makes me so happy.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to do some different colorways. Yes, I'm bringing new ashtrays. I'm bringing new of the red string conspiracy theorist boards. We're doing like Chupacabra this year, Mothman, Bigfoot, some alien stuff, Jersey Devil.
Oh, so that's awesome.
Yeah. Really
and this
excited.
goes back to, I tell people all the time, if you like something from an artist, you better get it because they might not be doing it next year. Because you guys, you move on to other things. You want to do something different. And I've noticed that about you. You're on to something else already. So that's why I was like, oh my God, she still has the ashtrays, or she's still going to do ashtrays.
Yes. Yeah, so I try to put them in whatever I do. I feel like it's like a little signature thing. I just think they're so funny. Yeah. But it's like that with the forest, right? Like I feel like I'm doing them, but I want to make sure that I'm loving it too, because this is my love, you know? And then I think sometimes when it starts to become business, it's hard to still love what you're doing and make sure you're keeping it creative. So I'm trying to change it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, how do you manage that? Because the challenge with artists is, you know, you want to keep feeding what they love, and they, you know, they're only talking about the ashtrays. I got to make more ashtrays. How do you manage that between that and what you want to do right now in the moment?
I've been working a lot on more than one project at a time. I still love the magic of the forest, particularly when little kids see it, like the mirror, they just feel like it's so magical. And I think that's like a lot of what miniatures are. And then I'm hoping that the people who really like my stuff for art are hanging in with me, you know, and they're seeing, or they're able to see what it is that I see in my head, and then, you know, make out of clay or cut out of wood. So and I have like a really great group of people. I mean, everybody's just super nice and supportive, and people who follow me on Instagram are wonderful, and they come out to Philly and stuff. And it's really been a super cool experience.
Yeah. Well, you've managed to make your mark in a very, very short amount of time. So I'm very, very happy for you. And I'm happy that you're coming back and that you're going to continue to do the shows. So that's all good. And you're teaching. So you're doing all the right things. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So does anybody have any questions for Andi before we finish up with Glen? But we're going to bring you back. You're going to stay, right?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. All right, hang out, because we're going to bring Glen up, and we'll end with if anybody has any questions. Uh-oh, did I lose Glen? Hold on, there you are. Hold on. There he goes. And we're going to unmute him too. There you are. How are you?
Good. Yay. How are you?
Good. How are you, Glen? Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're in Canada.
I'm in Canada.
National crowd. And I've had you on other Meet the Miniaturists. I'm so glad you're back to talk again, in case folks didn't meet you the first time. So you're Canadian-based miniatures. You're much more traditional versus what we've seen so far. And I wanted to mix this up because I want to make sure that we get all of the different, you know, genres.
I am far from traditional. I'm like mid-century modern and.
So talk. Well, when I meant by traditional, just working with wood, working with.
Oh yes, sorry, yes.
Talk a little bit about that. What is your aesthetic? What is the type of miniatures you offer? And then I'll show some of the examples.
I've been into like arts and crafts and mid-century modern really since the beginning. You know, when I started building furniture like 20 years ago. The only thing that was out there as far as plans and designs were like all the traditional federal, Queen Anne, all, you know, the Georgian and all that stuff. And I absolutely did not enjoy building that stuff.
Yeah, you wanted to move into a different direction.
Yeah, so, you know, I grew up with like Architectural Digest was always like one of my favorite magazines to read every month. And the furniture in Architectural Digest was like, it was all New York penthouses and, you know, modern California homes. And, you know, that's what I found fascinating. That was the interesting stuff.
Yeah. So what are some of the tools that you use to make these creations?
I use, you know, all the usual tools, table saws, lathes, drills. But I also use a laser cutter for some of my work, which has proven to be much more controversial than I I thought it would be. But I've worked with a buddy of mine for over 10 years now. He does architectural models. So I hadn't had access to a laser cutter sort of long before it was even popular. So, you know, I've learned to sort of make use of it for in a lot of pieces that it just wouldn't be practical to try and convert into miniature. You know,
would you give an example?
Well, earlier on you saw the bench.
Yeah.
That actually I'm working on one right now. Now, for the most part, you know, it's completely hand built by me. The pegs you'll note at the top of the bench are ebony pegs, and they're square. Cutting the holes into that cross brace, I could drill them, but then you'd be putting a square peg into a round hole. So I'll set up a jig on my laser cutter and put the top piece in and use the laser to cut the little squares. So all the rest of it is, you know, hand cut on a table saw or with an X-Acto knife, but the connection holes are all cut with a laser.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah.
You mix things up too. It's really, you do stuff. I feel like every show I come to, there's always a mix of different things. So what's your process? How do you go approach a show or approach your year? Was it whatever inspires you? How do you get inspired?
Really, it tends to be, you know, what I find that inspires me. Often I'll have people contact me, like customers, and say, oh, you know, have you heard of this artist? Is there, you know, any way you could build one of his pieces? Or have you tried building? When I recently had a customer introduce me to Wharton Esherick, who was a mid-century modern designer, and right at sort of the end of the arts and crafts movement, beginning of mid-century modern. And he was famous for a number of small pieces, and she wanted one of them. So I went searching for it. I found it was a stool. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture to show you of it, but I will have one at the Philly show. And I did the stool for her, and she was thrilled. But in the process of looking up that stool, I found 3 or 4 other pieces by him that I found really interesting. So I ended up building them as well. I had a very similar experience with Nakashima, who was, you know, mid-century modern furniture builder, a real sort of Asian-inspired aesthetic. And, you know, I built 1 or 2 of his pieces and then never stopped.
Yeah. When you're let's say when you're building a new piece, would you build more than one at one time? How does that work? I mean,
generally my process is I'll, you know, find a picture or find, you know, some information about a piece. Then I'll work the pieces into AutoCAD, convert them into AutoCAD drawings, which allows me to play with scale, adjust leg diameter and sizes so it looks a little better when you convert it to miniature. Then I'll build one to sort of make all the mistakes.
Yeah.
Try and make all the mistakes on the practice piece. And then I'll build, you know, 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
And then, you know, 4 or 5 pieces isn't necessarily the end.
Right.
But generally I'll build 4 or 5 pieces.
Yeah.
And after that,
but while you're
if somebody
there,
wants one, I'm not averse to building another one. But
what do you find you love? What part of the process do you absolutely love? Like what?
I love the process of converting something from a full-size scale into miniature. The more complex, the better. Mechanics, You know, the way a chair folds.
Yeah.
You know, I make a folding chair, a traditional wooden folding chair, like you would have seen at a Lions Club or a,
Yeah.
for generations.
Yeah. You
And
know
when I first built it, it was important to me that it would fold up like the actual chair.
Right. Yeah. You can totally tell that comes through in your work, because that folding chair is amazing. It's iconic. And you know what's amazing too is your the dishwashing rack.
Oh yes, the IKEA dishwashing
Yeah.
rack.
I mean, if you can't afford the larger piece, at least get that. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
bring that home.
Took me forever, because when I originally made it, I made it using quite large pieces of wood. And it just looked silly.
Right.
You know, I mean, it was small like a miniature, but it was so thick that it just looked like something you'd buy at a dollar store almost.
Right. So what did you actually end up working with?
Well, I ended up using maple, but now I cut the pieces down to like 1/32.
Yeah. Oh,
so
wow.
So it looks, once it's complete, like it's actually scaled down, but it means very tiny holes to put the rods in to keep it together.
Yeah. So what are some of the pieces we can expect to see in Philly that you worked on?
I've got 3 or 4 pieces by Esherick, new, including a couch, a table, and the stools. I've got half a dozen new pieces by Nakashima, including a desk, a really nice Nakashima desk. And as I told practically anyone who's been in my table in the last few shows, I have a cedar tree that I got from a friend. And the cedar tree is like 1,000 years old.
Oh.
So I've been using it to create lumber. And because it's so old and so dense, it looks amazing when you make like tabletops out of it. I think one of the problems with when you're scaling down to miniature is grain and the shape of wood, and it's very difficult. You know, I remember one of the very first tables I made, I was very impressed with it, and somebody came up and said it looked it looked okay, but the top looked stupid because the grain was so bad. So that's sort of always been a struggle, trying to find old enough and dense enough wood to use.
So I guess the older the tree, this is all coming to light now, that's when you get to see the grains really, really tight because it's so old. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
So, and that's, you know, in a sense, that's why old growth trees are so valuable. Because a tree that grew over 1,000 years is going to be much denser than a tree that grew over 10 years.
Right.
You know, and that's why when you go to, you know, Home Depot now and you buy a 2x4, it's always twisted out of shape because it's a young tree and it doesn't have the density to maintain its shape.
That's fascinating. Wow. So and so this new work is made from that tree?
The Nakashima work pieces, I've been using this cedar for the tops and for benches and stuff like that.
I can't wait to see it and stop by your table.
It looks very good.
Yeah, awesome. I can't wait to see that.
And it adds a real character to Nakashima generally worked with walnut and old growth walnut, which is why if you're familiar with his tabletops, he would cut a piece out of a tree and it didn't matter whether there were cracks in it or raw edges, he would just leave those in. And he would use various types of joints like butterfly joints to join that wood to make it stable.
Wow.
And using this cedar, it allows me to create that effect that you know, you wouldn't traditionally be able to transfer down in scale using, you know, traditional hobby wood.
Yeah. We did get one question about which social media platforms can we find you on? I think you're on.
I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
On Instagram. On Twitter, No, not Twitter. TikTok.
TikTok. You're on the TikTok. Awesome.
On the TikTok.
He's on the TikTok.
Although most of the time I'm just lying there going like this, for hours and hours on end. But I do try and post a lot of short videos. I wanted to start doing some YouTube videos, demonstrations, and perhaps some online classes.
Yeah.
Short form, like online classes.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be amazing. Count me in.
Still a work in progress.
Yeah. We did get
like everyone else, I have a full-time job, so it's trying to
manage all of that.
Yes.
Yeah. One more question from Pat. She wants to know what province you're in.
I'm in Ontario. Actually, I'm just outside of Ottawa, in a little town called Smiths Falls.
Awesome. Glenn, thank you so much. I'm going to bring other guys' videos back up. If you guys at home have any questions at all for any of our panelists, please do ask them as I start their videos. Hi, everybody, back up. Woohoo! But that's, if you guys have any questions for any of our panelists, let me know in the chat box. But while we're at that, Glenn, I think the whole idea about teaching workshops online is such a great supplement to to folks who can't get to a workshop in person, etc. May Burnett has a question for Andi. Will you have Ouija boards and candles at the Philly Show?
Yes, I'm doing Ouija boards with melted candles this year.
Thank you for that question, May Burnett. May Burnett is my partner in crime. We were on a TV show together. Hi, May. Does anybody have any other questions? I'm going to be looking at your ashtrays when I get there for sure. Because I think I need another one.
Can't wait.
Oh my God. I mean, I think definitely workshops is the way to go online. I hope you can get that. I hope that happens because put me online for that. Put me online. So what else? Are we all excited for Philly? Any other questions before we let everybody go home and thank them for joining us on this special? Marina, how did you do the dogs? Did you do the dogs? Question. Wait, ask to unmute. There you are. Wait, go. Yeah.
So,
yes,
the dogs are needle felted, and they were needle felted not by myself, but by a woman named Kristin Pavlova. She is in Russia, and I connected with her a couple of years ago, and I actually sent her like pictures of Nala and Lucy, who are my in real life Pomeranians.
Yeah.
And she actually needle felted them for me.
Perfect. And that's just a great example of how you mix things up. You know, you might buy something, you might commission something, and I think the best collections at the end of the day are really a mix of all of that. Really, the best collections have a little bit of everything. I use this analogy all the time. It's like a closet. It does not have to be filled with Chanel, but if you have a nice mix of that black Target t-shirt mixed with the Chanel, you're done. Done. Okay, yes, I've heard of her and I have a palm too. Is this right? Oh, is this all right to ask what the artists about full-time jobs? Is it all right to ask what the artists about full-time? I'm not sure I understand that question, Jean. Can you ask it a different way? Will floor plans be available at the show so we do know where each vendor will be? That's a question for Cathy.
Yes, we are going to release the floor plan and all the dealers' information probably about a week or two prior to the show, maybe about 7 to 10 days before the show. I just need to finalize everything before we release that information, and that'll help you maneuver your way through the showroom and get your priorities in order.
Poor Cathy. They're asking you about your 2024 dates already. We're not even done with 20.
I have them if you're interested. I do have them.
Karen is. Please do it. Tell us.
November 8th, 9th, and 10th of 2024.
Perfect. All right. That's awesome. Are you going to put the name of the third printer? Oh, yeah. I think that was for Marina, who had the question about the printer name. It was Glowforge. I think it was Andi. Someone had a question for the types of printer, and we were saying we're going to put it into the chat box.
No, I think it was for Marina.
Oh, Marina. Okay.
Yeah, I just put it. It's a
okay.
Prusa, and
Prusa.
mine is the Prusa Mini, which is just slightly smaller than the full size. And it works great.
Got it.
for miniatures.
I guess the question about artists is that if you're open, would you tell us what your full-time day job is? Unless it's artists. If anybody wants to answer that question.
Sure, I'm a retired hair colorist, and now I, for the past 12 years, I am an esthetician and makeup artist.
There you go. All right. Okay. Anybody else? Lydia says
I work for the police department in New York City.
Serious?
Nice.
Oh wow.
Awesome.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. All right. I think that might be it. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining on this Sunday, the special Meet the Miniaturists. Thank you all for the panelists for being here today. This has been awesome. Cannot wait for the Philly show. And thank you again, everybody. And as always, I hope you all find the joy in miniatures. All right, bye.
Thanks, guys.